Terry Irwin cried as she watched her beloved son go through a terrible change. Fans are shocked by his recent shift from a happy little boy who used to follow in his father's footsteps. What happened to the famous crocodile hunter's son, Terry Irwin? Terry Irwin, the loving wife of the late Steve Irwin, has always been there for her family. Along with her children Robert and Bindi, she has dedicated her life to upholding Steve's commitment to animal conservation as the matriarch of the Irwin family. But recent events have made Terry very upset, because her son Robert has gone through a shocking change that has caught fans off guard. Robert used to be a happy, daring kid who made everyone think of his father, but his recent changes have raised questions and concerns. Terry is crying about her son's change and doesn't know if it's because of personal problems, the demands of spotlight, or an unplanned change in his life. While the world watched Steve's son grow into a promising wildlife warrior, many people are now curious about what happened to him. Terry Irwin, Annie Rains, had already dedicated her life to animal protection before she became Steve Irwin's beloved wife and a famous worldwide wildlife conservationist. She was rescuing injured animals in Oregon, running her own wildlife rehabilitation center, and building a career focused on conservation long before she went into the world of crocodiles and Australian wildlife. But what brought Terry to the center in the first place? From a peaceful life in the United States, and how did one fateful trip change her life forever? Born on July 20, 1964, in Eugene, Oregon, USA, Terry Irwin came from a family that loved the outdoors and adventure. Her father, Clarence Rains, ran a trucking company, but he had a deep love for the outdoors and wildlife. He took her and her siblings camping, fishing, and other outdoor activities, and she formed a strong bond with animals. Unlike most people, she wasn't afraid of the animals she saw. As a child, she was drawn to animals and took it upon herself to care for them, whether it was a hurt rabbit, a lost kitten, or an injured bird. Her mother supported her interest in animals, even though she sometimes felt overwhelmed by the growing number of animals in their home. By the time she was a teenager, Terry had turned her house into an unofficial animal shelter, taking in stray pets and injured wildlife in the hopes that she would one day dedicate her life to helping animals. Terry wanted to do more, so she got a job as a veterinary technician and learned how to take care of sick and hurt animals. Because she was so determined to make a difference, her job gave her the skills and self-assurance she needed to follow her heart. In 1986, she took a risk when she opened Cougar Country, a wildlife rehabilitation facility for saving and treating injured predatory species like raccoons, bears, bobcats, and cougars that she had to personally care for. Veterinarians, animal welfare groups, and local government representatives to help injured animals get better and get them ready to go back into the wild. As part of her hard work at Cougar Country, she gave hundreds of animals a second chance at life by successfully rehabilitating them. Terry's efforts were immediately recognized by the wildlife conservation community. She pushed for moral wildlife conservation and habitat preservation while working with them. United States, Terry's interest in animal conservation outside of North America was growing. She wanted to learn more about animal care around the world, see new places, and learn new skills. She had no idea that her curiosity would lead her to a place and a person who would forever change her life. Terry was excited to see Australia's unique wildlife and conservation efforts up close, so she planned what she thought would be a simple trip there in 1991. As part of her plan, she visited a small reptile park in Queensland and met Steve Irwin, a dynamic and devoted wildlife expert. She was amazed when she saw him working with crocodiles. He was brave, lively, and totally dedicated to conservation. In turn, Terry's extensive knowledge and passion for animals led Steve to her, and their shared goal eventually brought them together. What started out as a chance meeting quickly turned into the start of a romance that would forever change the face of wildlife conservation. Since Steve Irwin's contagious energy and intense passion for wildlife first appeared on TV, millions of people were inspired by his family. Terry made it her life's work to continue Steve's work after his untimely death in 2006. The world watched as Bindi and Robert embraced their father's passion while growing up in the spotlight, with his fearless love of crocodiles and his always positive attitude. Robert in particular won over fans right away, but Robert's mother Terry and his Steve and Terry Irwin welcomed Robert Clarence Irwin into the world on December 1, 2003, in Budam, Queensland, Australia. Robert's childhood at the Australia Zoo was anything but normal. Instead of playgrounds and cartoons, it was full of kangaroos, koalas, and crocodiles. Steve Irwin, his father, was always there to teach him about animals and how important it is to protect them. Sadly, Robert's father died when he was only 2 years old, in 2006. Robert would grow up hearing tales of terror. Although he was too young to fully understand Steve's death, Robert was raised to carry on his father's legacy by his mother Terry and sister Bindi Irwin. Robert looked a lot like Steve even when he was a toddler, and his natural curiosity, spirit of adventure, and love for animals made it clear that he was meant to do his father's job. As he got older, Robert took on more responsibility and became a well-known figure at Australia Zoo. Robert's natural charm made him a great TV personality just like his father. His first major TV appearance was in his sister's environmental documentary series Bindi the Jungle Girl. As he got older, he went on many talk shows, like The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where his love of animals and knowledge of them delighted viewers. Fans felt like Steve Irwin had come back through Robert, because his interviews were a lot like his own media appearances. Well-promoted, Robert became more involved in at the Australia Zoo. He took care of the animals, taught visitors, and led conservation efforts. He became very interested in photography and used his skill to make powerful nature pictures that helped bring attention to endangered animals. As a well-known conservationist of his time, he worked with his mother and sister on programs that raised awareness and protected wildlife. By the time he was a teenager, Robert was a world-famous wildlife conservationist who had won many awards for his dedication and hard work. Many people around the world thought Robert would become the next Steve Irwin, which made him both proud and tormented. He took on his father's job, even though there were high hopes for him. And his relationships have sometimes caught the attention of the public. Robert started dating Rory Bucky, the late actor Heath Ledger's niece, in November 2022, and the two of them went to the premiere of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 together in July 2023. They posted pictures of themselves together on social media to show off their relationship. But after dating for about 18 months, Robert and Rory announced their friendly separation in February 2024, saying they respected each other and wanted to focus on two different goals. It was said that Robert was seeing Australia Zoo co-worker Charlotte Briggs after he broke up with Rory. The two were seen flirting in a hotel lobby after being seen together at Sydney Airport. Reports say that Robert and Charlotte acknowledged they were dating in July 2024. Even though they were often seen together. Robert Irwin is currently single, as of February 2012, and has said that he wants to continue his family's legacy of protecting wildlife by focusing on his own professional and personal growth. Even though he is still famous, Robert chooses to keep his personal relationships private and out of the public eye. However, something happened recently that caused him to change dramatically. Robert, who used to be known for his youthful good looks and limitless vitality, has changed a lot in both appearance and behavior. His style and appearance have changed, and some people have noticed a shift from his usual laid-back, outdoorsy persona. His public persona seems to have changed. He doesn't exude the youthful enthusiasm he used to, and his tone has become more guarded. He seems to be avoiding the limelight, which makes people wonder about his emotional and mental health. In addition to health pressure and expectations, Robert was often compared to his father as a child. Even though he always paid tribute to Steve's memory, the demands of these comparisons may have worn him down. Did he feel too much pressure to live up to his father's expectations? Was Robert having trouble defining himself outside of his family? Robert may be finding his own way in a society that has always defined him by the communes. As many young adults go through times of self-discovery, Robert may be separating himself from Australia Zoo and the conservation work that has shaped his life, according to rumors that have been going around. He wants to try new hobbies and maybe even go in a different professional direction. Others think he is taking some time to grow as a person, which he never could have done while always being in the spotlight, despite his unwavering dedication to wildlife protection. There are rumors that he might be redefining his position in the industry, according to reports. Robert's change has had a profound effect on Terry, who has lost her husband and has spent her life upholding Steve's vision. Terry may be devastated by the idea of Robert giving up on the Irwin family history, because she has always been very protective of her children, which is one of the worst things a mother can go through. Telling people close to the family that she has found it hard to believe that her son, who used to seem so happy, is now going through a personal crisis. She has always been very protective of her children, making sure they were raised in a loving and meaningful way. But no amount of defense can keep Robert safe from whatever personal problems he might be having. She has been scared of losing Robert, not physically but emotionally. It's a different kind of loss. A mother shouldn't have to go through seeing her son change into someone she doesn't recognize. A lot of people are worried about Robert's change, but it's important to remember that it's a normal part of life for young adults to go through phases, and sometimes moving on from the past is necessary for personal growth. Maybe Robert is just trying to find himself away from his father's shadow. He may feel the need to make his own way now that he's been compared to Steve his whole life. This could mean picking up new hobbies, changing his appearance, or even temporarily leaving the family business. If that's what he needs to do to figure out who he is, even if it hurts Terry, his family will probably support him. Second, it will take time to see if Robert is really leaving the Irwin heritage, or if this change is only temporary. Fans can hope that he will eventually go back to being himself if this is just a phase. If it's permanent, then maybe this is just Robert accepting himself as he is. Robert has the unwavering support of his family and millions of fans around the world, no matter what he chooses to do. Terry Irwin may be crying because she is sad and worried, but her tears also show how much she loves her son and will always be there for him, just like she has been from the start. Even though Robert's change may be hard to understand, he has to go through it all by himself. For a family that has been in the public eye for decades, every change feels even more intense. But one thing hasn't changed: the Irwins' unbreakable friendship. Robert's mother will always love him, no matter if he decides to carry on his father's legacy or go his own way. And Steve Irwin's spirit will live on, no matter where life takes him. The Irwin family's amazing journey has touched millions of people, including Robert. Even though Robert's change has caused concern, Terry Irwin, his mother, is the only person who can help him through this. Terry knows what it's like to be expected to do things because she raised 2 kids in the spotlight while dealing with the terrible death of Steve Irwin. As Robert looks for his own identity, Terry can now more than ever be his guide. Help Robert find a new path without feeling limited by comparisons to his father, by giving him room to grow and reminding him of his origins. She can reassure him that his value comes from his own love of wildlife and conservation, not from exactly following Steve's path. By keeping lines of communication open, providing constant support, and encouraging Robert, Terry can most importantly remind him that real legacy is about purpose, not just copying. His passion for wildlife will always carry on his father's legacy, whether he stays at Australia Zoo or goes in a different direction. The real question is whether Robert will choose a different career path or return to his duty as a wildlife warrior. One thing is for sure: Terry will be there for him through every challenge that lies ahead. From inheriting his father's legacy to going through a personal transformation, Robert Irwin's journey teaches us a lot about persistence, identity, and personal growth. By reading his story and having Terry Irwin's unwavering support, Robert has lived his whole life in Steve Irwin's shadow. His story is a reminder that we can respect our heritage without having to live up to other people's expectations. Finding our true selves leads to true fulfillment. People change, and that's okay. Changes in viewpoint, personal growth, or career paths should all be welcomed instead of feared. Robert's change shows that he has grown. If you look at how Terry Irwin helped Robert, you can see how strong love, tolerance, and compassion can be. She supports him without forcing him to fit in, which shows that real support means letting someone grow on their own terms. Steve Irwin left behind a legacy that went beyond crocodile wrestling and included conservation education and enthusiasm. According to Robert's story, passing on a legacy means upholding the same principles in our own unique way. Instead of trying to live someone else's life, sometimes being in the spotlight is too much to handle. We don't owe anyone an explanation for our own personal growth. Robert's change serves as a reminder that we should put our own health before what other people think, whether we are famous or not. For mental and emotional health, it can be necessary to step away from obligations, expectations, or public scrutiny. Robert's path shows us that stopping is a necessary part of self-discovery and not a sign of failure. At its core, Robert Irwin's story is one of growing up, finding out more about oneself, and redefining one's purpose. His love for nature stays strong whether he follows in his father's footsteps or goes in a different direction. We should all learn that true success means finding happiness in our own way, not following a set path.